All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to ATP Live Monday. I am Bimi Solaboide, and it's my pleasure to be here today. I hope you can hear me, and I hope you can see me. So, welcome, everyone. Welcome to ATP Live Monday. For those watching on Instagram, say thank you for joining us. And for those watching on Facebook, YouTube channel, you're all welcome. How has your Monday been? And for Nigerians, Happy Independence Day. I think it's not too late to wish us Happy Independence Day. Okay, so you're welcome to ATP Live Monday. This program is brought to you by Ask the Pediatricians Foundation. It's one of our programs where you get to ask any questions that you may have about the health of your children, and you get immediate answers live from a pediatrician. So thank you so much for joining us. So the first thing we need to do is to share the video, and I'm going to do the same. So please help us to share the video so that people can join us. I'm going to just do the same as well. Invite your friends, family, anyone who have children basically, and they may have a question for a pediatrician. This is the time to invite everyone. And if you got a question, you can also start to drop your questions now. Just drop your questions under the video, and then I will be able to see them and answer them. Okay, and I'm just going to share to our groups. You can also share to any platform where you have access to share such so that everybody can learn. We got to October now. The year is running very close, so very close to an end. But I hope you have had a beautiful year so far. If not, we still have like 3 months or so thereabout. You can feel free to still do a lot. A lot can still happen in 3 months. Okay, so I wish you all the best. So I think I've done the sharing. I just need to pin them to the various platform, and then we can start. But like I said, if you have any question, feel free to start to drop your question. I've got 1 hour to answer any questions that you may have about the health of your children. But just for you to know that even after the live sessions, you can always post your questions to our Facebook groups from Mondays to Saturdays. We are always there to answer any question you may have. So for those of you who may be watching the recording, maybe you're not joining us live, or if after the live session you still have any questions, remember that you can always go to Ask the Pediatrician, and you can ask your question there. All right, so I think I'm done with all my sharing. Where do I? Yeah, I think I'm done with all the. Okay, I think I'm done with all the sharing. Okay, so welcome everyone. Welcome to ATP Live Monday. I am Bemi Solaboide. I am a pediatrician, and it's my pleasure to be here every Monday to ask any questions that you may have about the health of your children as much as we can. So feel free to drop your questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. Thank you, Heroine, for joining us. What a name! Wow, I hope you are a true heroine. Well, that's a very lovely name. All right, so thank you so much for joining us. And I think I can see a few people also on Instagram. Loretta Moll is always here every Monday. Thank you for being consistent. And Timothy, Miss P, Sally, and all the rest of you on Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us. So feel free to drop your questions, and we will answer them in 1 hour. And But like I said, even if you have any questions afterwards, you can also ask on our Facebook group. Happiness, greetings to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm getting all the H names today. That's interesting. All right. Okay. But thank you so much for joining us. So while I'm waiting for your question and answer, I'll just kind of give you some just basic information about the health of our children. And we seem to be getting a lot of questions about cough and colds. Obviously, the weather is getting colder in so many places, rainy and all that. And a lot of people do ask about what they can do. The most important thing is actually prevention. It's not treatment. We really want our children to be protected. I guess the most common places where children tend to pick up respiratory infections is in school. So most of the schools, that children are coughing, they are airborne respiratory. So they cough out into the air, and then other children, breathe that in, and then becomes a vicious cycle. So the most important thing is to reduce the exposure. So when children are ill, coughing and all that, it's best to keep them at home. I know it's not easy for parents these days because who is going to stay at home then, but that would be the best option. The other option is also to make sure our children are their immunity is strong enough to fight all those infections. And how do we boost immunity is through making sure that our children eat well. Nutrition is very key. It's number one when it comes to immunity. It's not a drug. A lot of people do ask me, what drug can I take? What drug can I take? No, the best drug is still the food. Let our children eat a lot of food, fruits, vegetables, healthy food, and then they will have their own immunity. And then also, of course, the immunization. Let's make sure we take all the necessary immunization, measles, and all. Let's make sure children are up to date with the immunization. And also, let's avoid children being secondary smokers. So fathers, mothers that smoke, please don't smoke in the house with children. Even for us mothers, all our cooking, let's try and keep the children away from our kitchen. All the fumes, they irritate the airway. Our generator, we should keep it far away from the rooms, from the children. Even when we spray, let's make sure the house is aerated and all the smell are gone before the children come back. And these are basic things that we can do that can help us, boost the immunity of our children, protect them from respiratory infections. All right, let me start to answer my question. Miss Peace from Instagram. Say, good evening, Doc. My daughter is 15 months old and does not like to eat, okay? And she runs away when she sees food. Full, do you mean full blood counts? Because you say food blood counts. I'm not sure we have anything called food. I guess that's a slip of finger. I guess you meant full blood count. All right. Okay, so this question, I think maybe should be number one question the pediatrician gets. I always say that if you're a pediatrician and nobody has asked you, my child cannot eat, what should I do? I doubt you are a pediatrician because that is the number one question that parents always want to ask pediatricians about the children not eating. It's like children we are fighting children to eat when they are younger, then when they are older, we are trying to stop them from eating. It's just an irony. All right, so number one thing is that some children are just naturally fussy with food. So some children don't really like food. So there's nothing you can do about that. But the most important thing for us as pediatricians is that the child is eating enough to keep them alive, to keep them healthy. So some people live to eat while some people eat to live. So some children, they just want to eat the barest minimum to keep them alive, which is fine. There are with this is a topic, obviously, like I said, it's something we answer all the time. So there are lots of resources we have put online on our website and all that. So the first thing is to make sure we're doing it right. So number one, feeding a child should not be a chore. It should not be a battle. And I think that is where most time mothers, we tend to get it wrong, because we tend to see our feeding our children as one of those thing on your to-do list. So you just want to feed the child so that you can move on to all the 101 things that are still on your to-do list for each day. Rather, we should let children see eating as a something pleasurable. Let them see it as something good. Let them see it as something to look forward to. All right, so that is the first thing. So as much as possible, it's best to eat together with the children. Let's not feed children on their own, and then the children see that everybody else is not eating. They are the only one that you're trying to feed, and like, you see a punishment. You see why is everybody else not eating? So as long as children can start to sit on a table, on their high chair, then let them eat together as a family. It's one way you are modeling to children that it's actually good to eat, and they can see that you are eating. And some parents, you see, your children will actually want to eat what is in your own plate. It's okay, let them eat. And then another thing is, so let's eat together as a family. Let's make the food interesting. Let's make it colorful. A lot of parents, sometimes we just want to feed this our toddlers with only pap and cereals and stuff like that. No, the children from age of 1 year should be eating exactly what you're eating. Okay, exactly the same food you're eating. They should be able to eat everything you're eating. So aim for that. All right. Make sure the food looks pleasant. Let's not be feeding them with bottles, which is another thing. Most of us, we like to feed our children with the cereals and the milk and bottles and bottles. Then when you now want to give them food on their plates, they begin to look at it as, why is that? So make sure from 6 months we start feeding our children with the cup and the plate and the spoon and not bottles. Okay, and let's make sure the food looks colorful. Be patient with children. Some of us are just so impatient. We just want them to quickly rush the food. No, let them take the time. It's okay for them to make a mess. It's okay for them to throw the food on the floor. It's okay for them to throw it on the table. It's okay for them to make a mess with it, because that is how they actually get used to the food as well. We call it a sensory kind of a play with food. So it's okay for children to do that. So then don't force feed children. Most of us try to force feed them because they are slow with the eating, they are running up and down, they turn into a game, and you have other things to do. So you just want them to quickly gulp down the food so you can, move on to other things. No, learn to be patient. Let's make meal time a pleasant time for the children. All right, make it something that is lovely, enjoyable, not something that they dread, not something that they're running away from and all that. All these things are not going to happen straight away. It's something that's with patience, persistence, you do it. Then let's give children variety of food. And like, there are like 1001 way to cook rice. You can cook jollof rice, you can cook fried rice, you can cook, white rice. You can cook it in different ways. The same thing with almost all the food. There are different ways to present the food and make it looks colorful, let it have taste. Some of us will cook food, you say, oh, don't put sugar, don't put salt for children. That is not true. Food should be tasty. It should have taste, so that even when the children eat it, then they will feel like, okay, I want to eat it. Of course, there are some children that are generally fussy eaters. So for those children, just give them what they want to eat. Even if you have to give them the same thing frequently, but at least let them take much of what they like to eat, and then you gradually introduce new food for them to try. Okay, and sometimes they may not eat as much in your plate. It's okay, but one thing you should also avoid is to give them alternatives. Don't give them junk food that will not fill the tummy. So a lot of parents will say, oh, my child doesn't eat, but you're giving them biscuits, you're giving them boba, you're giving them all this junk, and then their tummy is full. You're giving them tea. The number of times people ask me all those kind of questions: can this baby take sobo? Can the baby take ribena? Can the baby take all those things? And then when you fill them with those things, where is the space in the tummy for real food? So we should aim not to give them junk. Don't replace all those food with junk. Don't give them biscuits and all those things, and then so that they learn to eat real food. So when they take, if they're not finished, leave it. Then when they are ready, then you give them the same food. You can give them more frequent food instead of doing 3 times a day or 4 times a day. They can eat every 2 hours if they're only going to take a little at a time, but you can make it more frequent, until the child gets used to food. You always have to try new food and be patient and persistent. So all these are some of the tips for fussy eaters. And if you go on our Instagram page, I'm sure we have loads of flyers on that. If you go on our website, we have lots of information. But I think the most important thing is that patience, because a lot of mothers, we are always too much in a hurry. And I understand, because I know how busy we can be as parents, and we have so many things to do. But we should let mealtime be something not a battle. So if the child doesn't want to eat, don't force feed them. A lot of parents like to force feed. Please don't. And the most important thing is that the child has a good weight. And I always say, what is the weight of the child first? Because sometimes parents are so, my child is not eating, but this child is actually already overweight and all that. So maybe it's actually good that the child is not eating as much. So make sure the child is having healthy weight, is having variety, is having healthy options, not junk food. Don't introduce them. A lot of parents tell me, oh, my baby doesn't want to eat real food. He wants to eat only biscuits, only wants to eat only this, only wants to eat that. And I'm like, children don't know any of those things. They don't know what is biscuit. They don't know any other thing else. It is what we introduce to them that they know. So if you've never offered your child chocolates or biscuits or pastries, they will never know it exists. I hope you know that. So most of the time when we say things like that, it's actually an indictment on ourselves. So instead of giving them those ones, give them healthy options. Give them bananas. They can hold banana in their hands and eat it. They can, eat finger food, the akara, boiled egg. Those are healthy options. Fruits, almost all the fruit, actually the soft one that they can easily, munch on and all that, not the hard one or not the one with seeds. Those are things we can be giving them to eat in between their main meals instead of giving them, junk food. So those are the kind of things you're going to do. Now, going to your second question, like what can I do? And a lot of people are saying multivitamins. I'm not sure where the law or the recommendations originate from. Obviously, they originate from doctors. Multivitamins are not appetite boosters. That is number one. Multivitamins do not increase any child's appetite. Multivitamins are just vitamins. That is what they are. And vitamins are not meant to increase appetite. Vitamins are simply a food class that are needed in small quantity, but they are needed for a lot of what we call metabolic processes in the body, all the things that our body are doing, all the enzymes work and all that. So we need the vitamins as part of that chemical reactions and stuff. So that is why you need those vitamins. And if children don't take vitamins, they can have what we call vitamin deficiencies. So, for example, if children do not take vitamin C, they can have what we call scurvy, and they will be bleeding from the gums, and the teeth may not be strong and all that, because vitamin C is very needed for strong bones, for strong teeth, and stuff like that. If children do not take, let's say, vitamin A, for example, they can have blindness, because vitamin A is very important for the formation of the retina and the lining of the eyes and stuff like that. So we need vitamins not for appetite boosting. We need vitamins for other reasons. So giving multivitamins is not the solution to children who don't eat. Giving them multivitamin doesn't really solve any problem. The solution to children who do not eat is safe food. And I know there are a lot of people that market and sell products claim to be appetite boosters. Most of those things you should not be taking to, you should not be giving them to your children. All those so-called cipreptidine and other, these are drugs that have their own reasons for what they do. The appetite is not the primary reason, but the appetite is a part of a side effect that they have. But when you're giving your child a drug that they do not need because you want to get them to have a side effect of that drug, the effect of that drug could be so dangerous on that child because the child doesn't need it. So it can affect their hearts and all that. So very lots of dangerous side effects. So we don't recommend you giving children so-called marketed appetite boosters because there's no drug that has been licensed for us to be given to children as a form of appetite booster. There's none. That is the truth. I know a lot of parents will be shocked by that, but that is the truth. There's no appetite booster drug ever. What we give to a child who is not eating is food, and just encourage them to eat, not to give them drugs. And multivitamins will not do that. If your child is not eating their fruits and their veggies, which means that they're not getting their vitamins, and you don't want them to develop vitamin deficiency, so sometimes we give those children the vitamins, not because we are trying to get them to eat. We are trying to make sure that the vitamins they should have gotten from the food, which they are not eating, we don't want them to develop vitamin deficiency. So we give them the vitamins for that purpose, for children who are not taking fruits and veggies, and so they are not having access to vitamins. But it's not because we want to, boost their appetite. So I hope that is clear. But for more information on complementary feeding, we have loads of resources already. I would just encourage you to go through them. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, I've gone through them, but nothing has changed." It's not just for you to go through them for your health knowledge, it's for you to implement them. And when you're implementing them, you do it with loads of patience. All right, I hope that's helpful. Please, if you have, for this one, just joining us, welcome. Please ask your questions. I can send a question on Facebook. I hope I'm live on Facebook though, so please feel free to ask any questions that you may have about the health of your children on Facebook, on Instagram, and we'll answer them. I'm not quite sure why you did the full block count. Maybe why did you do a full block count? Is it because the child is not eating? But I'm happy it's okay. But you want to, it's not something we would do generally for a child who is not eating. All right, got a question on Facebook. Finally, good evening. Blessings, yeah, man. I'm a first time mom. Oh, I love first time mom because they ask me lots of questions. There are some things I like clarifications on. What is the effective and best place to check your 4-month baby's temperature? Is it tongue, anus, or armpits? There's no best place, but usually for a mother like yourself, a first time mother, I would just say use the armpit. Is the easiest way for is easier. Even the base of the tongue, but sometimes the children may not want to open their mouth. A 4-month-old, they may not be that very cooperative. So it's easier to just put it on their armpits because you can also use your hand to keep it in place. And it's a very simple thing to use the thermometer. You know, there are also infrared thermometers and all that, but most of you use the digital thermometers that you have to put near somewhere. So armpit is what we normally use for home use. Armpit. Usually in the hospital, we tend to use the tongue, we tend to use the ears and rectum, but for parents, armpit will be fine, okay? And usually just leave it there for like 2 minutes. Most of them will beep bum, 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 when they've read, when they've registered the reading, and then you can just bring it out and look at it. Normal temperature is 36.5 to 37.5. If your thermometer is reading anything below 35, that thermometer is actually now right or not correct, because most of those your thermometer cannot read below 35. They are not meant to do what we call low temperature reading. So they usually that's the one way for you to know whether you are getting the correct reading or not, because they are not like perfect thermometers anyway. So that is how to check for temperature. Okay, my baby is showing signs of teething, like drooling, temperature of 36.9, 37.1. Okay, so 36.9, 37.1, they are normal. The baby does not have any temperature. And I'm not really sure why you are checking the baby's temperature when the temperature is normal. We don't expect you to be checking baby's temperature like a routine thing. The only time you should be checking temperature is if you think the babies feel warm, like baby feels hot when you touch them. So use the back of your hand, you put it on their neck or on their chest wall or their tummy, and they feel hot to your touch, or even their forehead, then you can now go and use your thermometer to check. So, but there's no reason for you to be checking temperature, all right? Baby can drool when they are bringing out teeth, but teething is a normal thing, okay? It's completely normal for babies to bring out their teeth, just like it's completely normal for them to get bigger, normal for them to sit, normal for them to crawl. That is how teething is. It's not a disease. It doesn't make children sick, and it's completely normal. You don't need to be worried. You don't need to fuss about it. You don't need to do anything about it. Just leave it alone. All right. Okay. No matter what you feel, as long as your baby's thermometer reading is normal, that is the correct one. That is why we actually have a thermometer, and we don't rely on your hand. That is why that instrument was created, because we know that we cannot completely rely on our hand. If you feel hot yourself and you put your hand on somebody else, you will think the person is hot, but you may be the one that is actually hot. Okay, so the thermometer is a more accurate instrument for checking temperature, not your hand. So if you feel baby feels warm to you and you put the thermometer and the thermometer is not reading 37.5 and above, that is not, you don't need to do anything. That temperature is normal. So you just need to leave the baby alone. Baby's temperature can go up and down, but they can still be within normal. So that's just, so usually baby can feel a little bit warmer when they're having teeth and all that, because they're doing more work is going on in the head, more work is going on in the body, but it doesn't mean they are hot or having fever. Your temperature can go up without it really going to the abnormal level. That's the point I'm trying to make. So you don't need to do anything, and just keep breastfeeding your baby. And while you are still on this question of teething, please do not give teething mixtures, okay? Do not give, what are they? Bona Babe, all those things. People, I'm sure a lot of people, so yeah, just go and give this. A lot of experienced mothers, please don't listen to them. Don't give any drugs to your baby. Do not give any so-called teething mixture. Your child does not need any medication for their teething. It's a normal thing, okay? If your child is having fever above 37.5, you can give them paracetamol and take them to the hospital. Don't assume that it is teething that is making a child to have the fever. It is not teething. If a child is sick, you take them to the hospital and don't give them any so-called medication. So, Blessing, I hope I've addressed your questions. All right. Okay, Miss Peace back on Instagram, he said the food blocker was to rule out anything infection. Okay, she was given being complex by the doctor to be taken for 2 weeks. Okay, I don't think your baby need any big complex, and I'm not sure why your baby is having. If you went to the hospital because of the child is not eating alone, then there's no reason to do any food blocker. But if maybe there are other things you told your doctors that make them to worry about any infection and all that. So maybe that's why they did the foot blocker, but that's fine. But otherwise, if it's just purely from eating, yeah, we're not really going to be doing foot blockers. All right. So I don't know. I don't see any more questions. I hope people are not dropping. If you're on our if you're on the groups, you have to click on the video to drop your questions, otherwise I won't say it. Okay, but if you are in, okay, Blessing, okay, you're welcome. If you're in the group, click on the video and then put your question. Otherwise, if you just put it in the group where you are, I won't see it in my studio here. So please make sure you actually click on the video and drop your question. But those of you on Instagram, on YouTube, or Facebook page, that doesn't apply to you. That's applied to those in the group, because we can't stream directly into the group unlike we used to do before. So that's just a little bit of housekeeping announcements to give. All right. Okay, maybe I should continue with my initial summer on keeping our children safe during this weather, about colds and coughs. And please don't expose children to smoke, generator fumes especially. Some of us like to fleet our room, use insecticide spray because of mosquito. Please make sure you aerate, make sure the rooms are well ventilated before the children come into the room, because those fumes, they tend to irritate the airway of the children and all that. So that's about that. Okay, while I'm still here, I need to quickly address because some of you, a lot of these days, social media is a blessing. It can also be a curse, especially for those of us in medical profession. And I'm sure most of you have seen a lot of news about paracetamol and autism, ibuprofen and all that. I'm just here to tell you that paracetamol, in taking your paracetamol in pregnancy, does not cause autism. That information is not based on scientific evidence. So nobody should start panicking or start worrying about what the US people are putting out there. So please always try and verify information from the professionals and not from people we are not qualified to say things like that. Okay. Blessing say what causes pneumonia? Okay, is it cold? Okay, thank you for that question, because a lot of people believe that you get pneumonia by if your children lie on the floor and the cold enter their chest, then they will have pneumonia. But that is actually not true. That is our mothers and old wives' fables. All right. So pneumonia is an infection of the lungs, of the lower respiratory tract. So we have so there are two kinds. So the airway, you have what we call the upper airway, your nose, your throat, and the trachea and all that. Then you have what we call the lower airway, when the trachea is branched into smaller bits until it ends in the lungs. So when there's infection in the lungs and the smaller airway, we call it pneumonia. Okay, you have to try. We can have what we call bronchopneumonia, you can have lobar pneumonia, but pneumonia has to do with infection of the lung tissue and the lower airway. And this infection, most of the time, they're caused by bacteria, but there are other things like viruses, even tuberculosis, even other germs can cause what we call pneumonia. So pneumonia is caused by germs. That germ has to enter the airway, either through breathing them in, respiratory routes, or if your child has infection circulating in the blood will get to the lungs as well, and the infection can get settled in the lungs there, and it can also cause infection. So pneumonia is not caused by cold. Pneumonia is caused by germs through the airway and all that, or through blood. And most of the time, how do you know a child who has pneumonia? The children always have fever, they have cough sometimes, then they have what we call fast breathing. That is the most important symptom in children who have pneumonia, as against children who have just the common cough and colds. Most of them, they have cough, they have running nose, but those ones, they will not have fever, they are not breathing fast, which is why we always advise that once you start having fast breathing, or they are struggling to breathe, or they are even you can see that all the spaces between their ribs are going in and out, the nose is flaring, there's depression along the upper part of their clavicle and all that, then that child is having difficulty with breathing. Most of the time when you are breathing, people don't even notice. I hope you know that most of the time we don't know when you are breathing. Even as I'm talking to you, I'm breathing, but you can't even notice. But once you start noticing that a child is breathing, it's noisy, it's fast, it's difficult, that child may have pneumonia. You really need to take the child to the hospital, because pneumonia is one of the killer diseases in our children, actually under the age of 5. So please always take children when you suspect they may have infection that has spread to the lungs, you need to take them to the hospital quickly and we'll treat it. So pneumonia is not caused by cold at all. All right. Okay, let's go on. So question, Ifama, how are you? It's good to see you here. Is it okay to teach a child of 2 years sex education? Yes, of course. Sexuality education starts from the age of 2 years. Okay, there is what is age appropriate. So for a 2-year-old, what we teach them is know their body parts. Okay, so we teach them and you tell them the right name. So penis is penis, vagina is vagina, there's a vulva. All those things, you tell them the inner parts of their sexual organs, you tell them the outer part of their sexual organs, and the focus at that age is to let them know that those parts of their bodies are private parts of the body. Any part covered by their underwears, we call them private parts. So when you want to teach a child sexuality education, so I don't know when you think sex education, we're not talking about how you teach children how to have sex. That's not what sexuality is. That's what we like to use, was sexuality education, because I think parents also sometimes get it they kind of misunderstand it anyway, maybe because most of us also don't have the right training when we were children. So sexuality education is letting children be aware that you have some parts of your body that are private, that are always covered by your underwear. So the best time to teach your children is when you are dressing them up. So when you put on their pants and you put on their vest, you tell them every part of your body that is covered by your pants and your vest is your private part, and then you teach them. You can use things like PAN's acronym. Nobody, just to let them know that nobody's allowed to touch their private parts, and they must always tell you, So those are the kind of things you teach a 2-year-old. You're not teaching them any other thing else. So, and then they must always tell you, you must teach them private parts are private. So any part that is covered by the vest, the breast, the genitals, they are the private parts. They are private. We don't open it to everybody. Nobody is allowed to touch them. Mom and daddy can help you clean up and all that, but that is in the context of bathing, or when you had a pool or things like that. But otherwise, nobody is allowed to touch them. Then you must teach them to always tell you, to say no. You must teach them to say no when anybody tries to touch them, and then they must always tell you anything, there's no secret. Don't stop telling children to keep secrets, because that's how predators and pedophilias think. They say, well, this will be our secret. You must tell them children should not keep secrets, and they must always speak up. They must always tell them anything that upset them, any secret that upset them, because most children, even though they may not know whether it's right or wrong, but they will feel upset when somebody is trying to touch them. So they must tell them, they must always tell you about any secret anybody tell them, and they must always speak up. So those are the kind of things. So if you go on our website, on our page, we have the PANS acronym. I'm trying to remember all the hands now. You must always say no, and I think private or private. I can't remember the A now, but the N is say no, something like that. Then T, they must always they must always tell you anything if somebody touched them and things like that. So all those resources are available. There are videos as well. There are books as well. So you need to know what is age appropriate for a 2-year-old, and what is age appropriate for a 5-year-old, what is age appropriate for teenagers, So there's a lot of resources online on how to go about sexuality education. So primary thing for the younger children is you want to prevent them from being abused by people. Okay, so that is a priority. Of course, when they are getting to teenagers, your focus is you want to make sure that they either abstain, or if they're going to have sex, then you have it safely. Use condoms, use whatever they need to do, and all that, contraceptives and all that. So different information for different age group, and you tell them the risk involved and all that. So different ages, there are different information, but usually once a child starts to talk, from 18 months, you can start teaching them sexuality education. So yes, a 2-year-old is old enough to have sexuality education, but just make sure you give them what is so P is private are private. A, always remember your body belongs to you. You must always let children know that their body belongs to them and not about anybody else. No means no. N is no means no. Then T is talk about secrets that upset you. You must always let children talk about secrets, which is why you should avoid this scenario where we tell children, oh, let's keep a secret. You should avoid it, because that is how predators, take, and most of the people that will abuse your children, they will be people they know. They will be family members. They will be 9 out of 10 of abusers are people that are known to that child. They are not strangers walking on the street. They are your relatives. They are the fathers, they are the mothers, they are the cousins, they are the aunties and all that. These are people, your nannies and all that. These are people living in your house. They are not strangers. So the child knows them very well. So you should avoid people telling your children to keep secrets. There's no secrets with children. They must always tell you everything. So they must always tell you about secrets that upset them. And then they must speak up. They must always speak up, because one of the danger that the predators use is to tell children to not talk about it, to keep quiet. So please feel free to teach them. So I don't know what you're teaching your child, but you need to teach them the right thing. I think for a 2-year-old, what you need to just do is to teach them the right name. The same way and when you teach them, don't make it something awkward. Make it natural. Yes, so touch your head, touch your eyes. The same way you teach them other parts of their body, then you teach them all their genitals as well. Touch your breast, touch your this and all that. Avoid using word like pee pee, wee wee, all those kind of things that most of us use, but it's not the appropriate one. You use the right name. Let children get familiar saying the right name, and let them get familiar knowing that those parts of their body are private and should not be covered. Okay, so I hope I've answered that. It's a very important thing because a lot of kids are being abused. Blessing saying, what does code actually cause? Well, so I don't know what you meant by what does code actually cause. So when people use the word code, which is a local native, but the actual medical jargon for that is respiratory infection. So when we use the word colds and coughs, we're talking about respiratory infection. So children who are coughing, who are having catarrh and all that. So if it is the upper airway infection, people tend to use the word colds and cough. When it's a lower airway infection, that is why I talk about pneumonia. So I'm not sure, maybe your question is you want to refresh this. I'm not sure. Yeah. So it's the same kind of things that cause the pneumonia that also cause colds, but this time around, most of the time they are viruses and they're in the upper airway, so they tend to resolve on their own, whereas the lower airway tends to be more of bacteria and they tend to be more serious, and those are the ones that can kill our children. Loretta said, good evening, our beautiful doctor. Please, it's a must. Our children must be given chicken pox, MMR 1 and 2 as 1 year old. Is it a must? I don't think anything is a must. Nobody is saying if you don't give your child chicken pox, they're going to take you to court or, or sue you. So in that sense, it's not a must. But the more immunization you can give your children, you're protecting them. So if you have the money and you are able to do it, why not? So if you give your child chickenpox vaccine, you protect them against having chickenpox. So you can decide which one is easier for you. Do you want them to have the chickenpox and you deal with it, which they can always deal with it anyway, or do you want them not to have it at all? So if you give them the immunization, then your children may not have chickenpox. So generally, immunization is better. Of course, the vaccines are expensive, so most governments do not want to pay for those ones that are not as severe. So obviously, chickenpox is not a good disease as well, but in the scale of things, most children don't die from chickenpox. So because of that, though, even I think now in UK, for example, they are going to introduce chickenpox vaccine. I mean, the whole of UK, they are just about to introduce chickenpox for free. So so you can't blame even us in Nigeria if we don't have it. So there are vaccines that are available, and if you have the money, you should go for it. Of course, the government may feel like, oh, we don't have the finance to deal with that. So the government is prioritizing the killer ones. Your measles is going to kill a child. BCG, tuberculosis, those are the killer diseases. So government is prioritizing. They're even prioritizing malaria vaccine. So you're likely going to get malaria vaccine before you get chickenpox vaccine for free. So so the vaccines are available, but if you have the money, please go for them. But if you don't have it, then just hope and pray. But if your child has chickenpox, then most of them will get over it within 1 week. But obviously, they will be home for 1 week and they will eat and they will not be convenient for them. So, but if they've taken the vaccine, then they may actually be protected from having the chickenpox. And the same thing for MMR. We're already giving you measles vaccine. Measles is like a killer. So the M in the MMR is measles. The second M is mumps. And the last is rubella. Mumps and rubella are also viral infections. They can cause serious illnesses, but in the scheme of things, they are not as bad as measles. So we give your children measles at 9 months. We also give them at 15 months. But if you can afford MMR, why not? You should get the vaccine. But things like cholera vaccine, typhoid fever vaccine, flu vaccine, don't bother giving those ones to your children. They are not necessary. They are not even recommended for children. I'm not sure why some private hospitals like to just give it. I don't know whether it's business related or whatever, but we don't even recommend this for children. But chickenpox, MMR, yes, these ones, they are good for our children to to have them. So I hope that is helpful. So I think the issue here is that some of even the regular vaccines that we have that is free, that is helpful for our children, um, some of us are not even taking them. Okay, so that is a problem. So you'll be surprised that even all the free ones, which is what is not encouraging the government, okay, even the ones that are free, some of us are not even taking them. Our immunization coverage is so low. In some places, it's so low and it's so ridiculous, really. So, and that is why we're still having outbreak of diphtheria. I think we have diphtheria in Lagos not quite long ago. I'm not sure whether it's still ongoing now. In some part of the country, we have diphtheria outbreaks. So a lot of people are actually not taking the vaccine. So, and these are the ones that we are even giving you for free. So how would the government be encouraged to now introduce more when we are not even taking the free ones? So please, let's, if at all we can pay for the ones that we have to pay for, we don't have the finance at least, but please let's go and take the free ones. It's very important. So we protect our children against these infections. All right. Asuka Esther, I give paracetamol for 3 days and the temperature is normal. Asuka, I'm not sure. Did you ask a question before, Asuka? Because I can't see your first question. No. So yeah, asking question in the middle. I'm not quite sure what the background is. So can you start your question over again, Asuka? Because we don't know the beginning part of your question. All we see is that you give paracetamol for 3 days, temperature is normal, he's still cranky. So when you want to start a question, start with the age of your child. My baby is 9 months old or 4 months old. There's this, there is that. This is what I've done. Then it makes sense. So unless you posted and we can't see it, but I can't see the beginning of your question, and I have no clue who you are talking about. And so start with the age of your child and give us the full details, then we can advise you properly. All right. Let me go back to Instagram people. I don't know whether they have any question. Okay, noted. Thank you, man. All right, you're welcome. All right, so let's take our immunization. Also, we're waiting for you to complete your question so that we know how to advise you further. But when our time is up, if you have any question or you are just joining us, and we are still here to 7 p.m. Nigerian time, but if you have any questions after the normal live session, remember that you can post your questions on our Facebook group, Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group, ATP Family Facebook group, ATP Still a Mom. But please post your question in the right group. So if you have children health questions, post it on ATP Facebook group. If you have adult health issues, ATP Family, issues around child bereavements, miscarriages, you can post on ATP Still a Mom. So those are the three. We still have FCM group as well, but not really been functioning. I think most of it just come to the ATP main group, so that is fine as well. So you can always post your question. And if you want to read more about all these topics, we have them on our website, www.askthepediatricians.com. We also have them on our YouTube channel. All our videos from 10 years ago till now, they are on our YouTube channel, ATP TV with double E at the end. We also have our podcast on all the popular podcast channels, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, all of them. You can always check our podcasts for listening, and even videos are there as well. Yeah, so, and you can follow us on social media, Instagram, X, not Twitter anymore. So you can always ask your questions and then we'll try and answer them. So those are the various platforms where you can learn, and we're always available on our group from Monday to Saturday. So feel free to reach us at any time. We don't tend to do inbox question and answer on Instagram and all that, obviously, for obvious reasons. We have more people answering on Facebook than on such platform. Asuka, you've not asked your question. You need to start your question from the beginning, and I can't still say it. So I'll move on Chinwe is asking, my baby has a 6 weeks immunization on Friday. Till now, it keeps having fever of around 37.7. Friday is 3 days ago, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, it's still okay. 37.7 is not that high. I hope you are not over covering the baby. Make sure you are not overdressing the baby. Make sure the room is well ventilated. It's cool. I know most of us think babies are so they are prone to having colds. Yes, so because of that, we tend to cover them a lot. We tend to wear too many layers for them. So we always recommend that you dress your baby according to the weather dictates. So if the weather is hot and warm, don't overwrap the babies. Just let them have some fresh air around them. Okay. And then what dose of paracetamol are you giving? You didn't tell us whether you're even giving paracetamol though. I hope you've been giving paracetamol. You should give paracetamol every 6 hours for 2 to 3 days after immunization if your baby is having fever. Make sure you give the right dose, because some of us don't know the right dose of paracetamol. And the number of people that always come and ask us after they go home, like, what quantity of paracetamol will I give? That question you should have asked before you left the hospital. You need to know what to do. Whenever you go to the hospital, your children has got immunization, you need to know what are the side effects to watch out for and what should you do in such scenarios. So all those information, you should have them before you leave the clinic. When they give your children immunization, don't rush out. Always stay 15-30 minutes before you leave. Number one, we're checking to make sure your child does not react to the immunization. And that's an opportunity for you to ask all your questions about if the baby have fever, what do I do? What side effects should I watch out for? If the place is swollen, what do I do? Apply ice pack. All those information. Ideally, we should be telling us before we leave the hospital. But these days, I'm actually wondering whether some of us just branch in and brush out quickly, or we didn't go too early, so we didn't get all those information at the beginning, or maybe we didn't wait at the end. I don't know which one it is, but I'm really worried about the number of people who come out of immunization clinic and they have absolutely no clue what to do with their children who are having side effects of immunization. They don't know what to do with the swollen lap. They don't know what to do with the fever. It's just so amazing. So I really want to encourage us to make sure we have all those information. Not because we are not happy to answer your ATP, but I'd rather you have that information before you need it. Not that it is when you need it and you come and put it on ATP. And some of it, like me, I may be here for another 1 hour and I won't have time to answer that question. Maybe it's another day. So it's best to always get that information straight away from before you leave the clinic. So, Jenny, you didn't tell us whether you've been giving paracetamol, but you can give your child paracetamol. You didn't tell us the weight of the child. If we know the weight, we can tell you the dose of paracetamol to give. So, if you're still listening, just let me know that information and I'll tell you what to do. Okay, Azuka, your question is complete now. Your son is 1 year old. He's having swollen gum for teething, so I mistakenly injured him. Oh, sorry. While brushing his teeth, he bled for a while. After which he started running temperature 37.6. I gave him paracetamol for 3 days. Temperature is normal now, but he's still cranky, fussy, running nose, cough. I'm not quite sure your child's bleeding gum is from teething. That seemed like an assumption, okay, because teething will not make your child to have fever, running nose, a loss of appetite, and all of that. That sounds like a child who is ill, and a child who is ill can actually have swollen gums, especially if they also have like vitamin deficiency and stuff like that. So swollen gum from teething usually not the part of the gum that will be usually on the top, not on the front part. So I really would recommend that you take this child to the hospital and let the doctor have a look. Let's be sure there's nothing else going on, because teething on its own, yeah, can make a child cranky, but once it comes out, that's it. And but I'm worried about the bleeding. I'm worried about the running nose and cough. Running nose and cough doesn't sound like teething. That sounds more like a child who is having respiratory infection, So and a child who is ill for other reason can also bleed from their gums. So it may not necessarily be from teething itself. So and since the child is not better, you may just want to take the child to the hospital and let one of our colleagues have a quick look at the child. Then from there. Paracetamol 2 meals is weight. His weight is 3.2. What was the birth weight? Your birth weight, your baby was a baby smaller at birth, because 3.2 sound like the weight baby should have when baby was born, not the weight at 6 weeks. So like your baby was born very small, maybe was a baby born preterm and all that. So 3.2 kilos, then 1545. Yeah, maybe I should be taking 1 meal of paracetamol, but then I'm not quite sure about that weight though. Is that the birth weight or the current weight? Because unless the baby was born premature, then um, that weight is a little bit small. Then I hope you're giving it every 6 hours though. The paracetamol it should be every 6 hours. A little bit high, but it's okay, not too bad. Okay, we finished with Instagram people. Okay, I think I'm not sure. I think the only person I'm waiting for is Chinwe to let me know what's your current, if the weight of your baby, whether your baby was small, and I hope you're breastfeeding your baby exclusively, and all those are the kind of things that. So the more you talk, the more I'm thinking about the things. Okay, somebody is asking which multivitamin is advisable. I don't even advise any multivitamin for any child. Let the children eat fruits, let them eat their vegetables, and they will get all their vitamins. We don't recommend routine multivitamin for any child, whether 4 kilo, 18 kg. That is normal weight, by the way. The weight is actually a little bit on the high side, but I'm not. I would recommend the child should eat a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, and that will take care of the vitamin supply. Yeah. Okay. So our time is going up. Okay, your baby was born preterm. Exactly, your baby was born preterm. Which is why it's always important to always tell us right from the beginning. Okay, if your baby is preterm, it's better to always tell us right from the beginning that your baby is preterm. Your baby is 32 weeks. Okay, so 3.2 kg is okay for a preterm baby. Because your baby's corrected age is actually less than 2 weeks anyway. Your baby is still should still be in the womb. Your baby is still less than two weeks. The baby was born 8 weeks early, so your baby is still minus 2 weeks old, if there's anything like that, in terms of the corrected age. So the weight of 3.2 for that, is appropriate. It's not like your baby is 38 weeker. That your baby is a 38 weeker. So weight of 3.2 kg is okay, because that is almost like the birth weight if the baby was born at 37 weeks or 38 weeks. So that's fine. And for you, I hope your baby is also on iron and folic acid as a preterm baby. So there are other medications you should be given to your preterm baby. And make sure you're breastfeeding exclusively. I think the dose of the paracetamol is a little bit on the high side. I will reduce it a bit, maybe to 1, maybe 1 or 1.5. If you're using the syrup or using the drops, so most of your baby should be on drops anyway. Then in which case you just give 1 meal. That should be about the maybe even less, because the baby is, if your baby is 15 times 3.2 45, about 50, 60. So if your baby is on drops, should be on 0.5 mils. And if your baby is not on drops, if you're using the syrup, I think you should reduce it down to maybe 1.5 mils. It's a little bit, 2 minutes, a little bit on the high side, and I'm a little bit worried because your baby is also preterm. The baby's liver is not that very strong, so we don't want to overload it with paracetamol. So, but just make sure. I think your baby's temperature may be more from you maybe dressing the baby up, and I guess for a preterm baby you may actually do more of that than what you would do for a normal baby, a term baby. So that makes sense to me. Okay, but don't worry, baby will be fine. Okay, I think I'm done with all the questions. Let me just check Instagram before I sign out. Okay, no question on Instagram. But if you have any questions still, as we sign out, feel free to go to Ask the Paediatrician Facebook group. Post your questions there. We're there for you Mondays to Saturdays. We'll be able to answer your questions. And then every Monday you have opportunity to ask your live questions and also have a little bit of some teaching on the side. I think I'll just be doing my teaching on Mondays as well, so that we can put everything together. And of course, like I've told you, you can always go to for every topic we've addressed: immunization, feeding, colds, pneumonia. There's actually no topic that we have not written about. And there's no topic that we've not talked about on podcast. There's no topic I don't think we've not talked about on our YouTube channel. So you can go look for the detailed, more in-depth teaching on some of these topics on our website, or if you ask on our group, somebody will direct you to it. So thank you so much. Happy Independence Day in arrears again to Nigeria. Hope our country begin to take care of its weakest. That is how you know a great country, how they treat their weakest. So any country that is doing right by the children, that is a great country. And on that note, I think our country still have a long way to go to make sure that we're taking good care of our children. So hoping our president and all our leaders, our first lady, all the leaders, our political leaders, they do right by our children. And we look forward to that day. We in ATP, we are part of the solutions in making sure that our children live and do not die. And we'll continue to do that as long as we are able to. Okay, so have a wonderful evening, and remember that if you still have any questions, feel free to post on our Facebook group. I'll see you again next week, God willing. But to them, it is bye bye from me, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.